So on December 16th, the Minnesota Timberwolves lost to the Phoenix Suns. Their record dropped to 17-13. And ever since that game, or after that game, the T-Wolves have been one of the best teams in the NBA. Since December 18th, Minnesota has the best offense in the NBA at 114 points per 100 possessions, which isn't too shocking because they were already like 5th best in the league on offense. But the real jump is on defense. Since December, whatever the hell I just said, they're the 5th best defensive team in the NBA at 103.7 points per 100 possessions. And to give you context of how big of an improvement that is, even with them being that good for almost a month now on defense, they're still ranked 19th in the league on defense for the season. So they were pretty bad early on. So what is this improvement? Where is it coming from for the T-Wolves? Well, for one, Jimmy Butler's been really good. And the most TLDR stat that I can give you for them is when Jimmy Butler is in the game, they're a positive 8 net rating, and when he's out of the game, they're a negative 8 net rating. So that says a lot right there. It makes sense. Jimmy Butler is one of the best wing defenders in the NBA. And then offensively, I mean, what? Dude's putting up 21 points. He's shooting 35% from 3. He's shooting 6.5 free throws a game. He's also getting 5 assists, and he's not committing that many turnovers. I mean, his turnover percentage is 10%, which is beautiful. So Jimmy Butler is just a hell of a player, and he's continuing what he did last season for Chicago, where he was quietly one of the 10 best players in the league. And if not that, he was definitely like the 11th or 12th best player in the league. But, of course, there's more to this team than simply Jimmy Butler. I think a big thing has been how Tom Thibodeau has used Karl Anthony Towns. Because, I mean, a big thing for them for a while now has been that Towns and Wiggins are just disappointing on defense. I think it's easier to hide someone like Wiggins on defense because you can put Jimmy Butler on the best opposing wing player. Not every single possession, but you can do it in certain stretches. And as a result, you put Wiggins on the second best guy, and on most NBA teams, that's enough to where you're not going to get killed for doing that. But with Karl Anthony Towns playing the center position, you can't really hide a guy like that. You can do little things here and there, but if you're not a good defensive center, you're kind of screwed. To Towns' credit, it seems like he's been better lately. I don't know if the stats will back him up because it's a relatively short sample size compared to the entire season, but in some of the games that I've watched, it seems like Towns has been better at covering the pick and roll, stepping up on ball handlers. And one problem that Towns has had is that he's not necessarily been the worst at getting into position, but he's never been that good at contesting shots. So maybe he'll just put his hands up in the air on a big man that's posting up on him rather than really getting on him and being physical, or maybe he'll just be a little slow in contesting a pull-up jumper from a point guard on a pick and roll or whatever. It seems like he's just been better at that stuff lately. And sure, Towns can still be beat on defense, but it seems like he has been a little better. But Thibodeau, to me, has also done a really good job of doing what he can to help out Towns on defense. Specifically, whenever Towns is out there, he's pretty much always playing with either Jimmy Butler, Taj Gibson, or both of them. I mean, the T-Wolves have played over 1,000 minutes this season with Karl Anthony Towns, Taj Gibson, and Jimmy Butler on the floor together. So, if Gibson can be the main defensive big, and then Jimmy Butler can still clean things up from the wing position, and Butler has a lot of switch ability as well, that's definitely helping. So, those are good signs. Is there a chance that they could regress back to what they were? Sure, because, like I said, if you're not that good of a defensive center, eventually that can catch up with you. Jeff Teague is also not the best defensive point guard, but Minnesota's definitely been managing so far. It should be said with the T-Wolves, they are towards the top of the league in steals per game at about 9. That helps them out. But still, I do have some concerns that they could fall back, and I actually think if they have a way to acquire a defensive wing at the trade deadline, might be a smart idea to jump on that. Thabo Cephalosha would have made some sense for them. Unfortunately, he is out for the season for the Jazz now, but if anyone else is out there, I think they should jump on that. And a big reason why I say that is because a lot of their guys, even in this stretch when they've been good, their guys have had some negative net ratings. Specifically, all of their potential backup wings, Jamal Crawford, Shabazz Muhammad, is basically fallen out of the rotation at this point. And, if you don't have those guys after Jimmy Butler and after Andrew Wiggins who can hold it up on defense, then you're going to have some problems. Jamal Crawford, for the season overall, the advanced numbers, they don't like him. Basically, the T-Wolves are not good when Jamal Crawford's in the game, is the best way to put it. Even in this really good stretch, Crawford is -1 on the season, or -1 during this run. And for the season, Jamal Crawford is like -7. And, he could turn it around, but it seems like what's happening with him is what I feared was going to happen, which is just this team did not need a shoot-first guy. Like, you already got Butler, Wiggins, Teague, and Towns. You need more Taj Gibsons and less Jamal Crawfords. But of course, Jamal Crawford could help them out on offense. I guess we could talk about the offense some. I think the defense is the main thing here, but offensively, the stuff they're running is not that complex. Based on the things that I've watched, it's like post-ups where they don't get a switch. Towns ended up posting up on like Enes Kanter a lot in the game against the Knicks. Wiggins will have some isolations. Jimmy Butler will have some isolations. Or there's just pick and rolls and pick and pops with Karl Anthony Towns and whoever happens to be dribbling the ball at that moment. That stuff can work because they were like 5th best offensively before they went on this big stretch. So they have enough talent to where they don't need the most complex offense in the world in order to make it work. But it should be said, during this stretch, they've actually jumped to number 1 in the NBA on offense. Not for the season, but, since December 17th or whatever. I think a lot of that is just because they're just getting more stops. You get more stops, you have more opportunities in transition, you have more opportunities on fast breaks, or the other team has to, maybe a smaller guy ends up on Jimmy Butler because they have to get back on defense, and then you can take advantage of that. So that's all I think that's happening with their offense. Because, like I said, it ain't really that advanced of an offense. Now, they do grab about 10 offensive rebounds a game, so that helps them out too. So things are definitely working. The next thing I should notice with them is they basically have 6 guys who are good at this point. It's Tyus Jones, Jimmy Butler, Taj Gibson, Towns, Wiggins, and Teague. And Gorgie Dang has been, not bad for them lately. And I think Thibodeau realizes this, because if we're going by the minutes, specifically lately, they've basically used 2 lineups. It's been the starters, and then Tyus Jones replacing Jeff Teague in the starting lineup. And those 2 lineups have been great. The starting lineup has a 10 net rating, and Tyus Jones with the starters actually has a 37 net rating since mid-December. And I think a lot of that is probably because when Jeff Teague is not in the game, it puts the ball in Jimmy Butler's hands more often, because Teague's usage rate is around 20%, and Tyus Jones' usage rate is around 12%. So, who's going to get the ball in their hands? It's going to be Jimmy Butler, and of course you'd rather have Butler with the ball than Jeff Teague, so yeah, it seems like for Minnesota to go to another level here, they're either going to have to figure out ways to have their backups just be more productive, whether that be playing Jamal Crawford with some more defensive players or hoping Shabazz Muhammad can just do something for you positively. I think they probably have to make a move, though, because, it might suck to say this, I'm not really surprised that Jamal Crawford's not producing winning basketball for them. I think I made that pretty clear when they signed the guy that I didn't like that move. So I think that's what they could really use, is a defensive wing who can just hit some shots. As far as potential trade assets they have, I mean, there's Justin Patton, there's Shabazz Muhammad. If somebody wants to give him a try, I wouldn't. I think he's a wing who likes to post up and who doesn't really pass the ball almost ever. Cole Aldridge has a tradable contract, but it's also got 2 years on it, so I don't know if too many teams would love that idea. There's no way you're trading Gorgie Dang, and also he's been kind of okay for you. And then if we look at their draft pick situation, they have a protected pick this season that will be going to the Hawks. And, I mean, maybe that would allow you to trade picks moving forward. I don't know. There's complications there. And, I mean, I wouldn't really want to move a first-round pick for a wing who could play 20-something minutes a night. So maybe some second-round picks. Maybe there's someone in free agency they could just scoop up who could do some things for them. But I think that's what Minnesota needs. They need a wing who can play some defense, do something offensively, because I think that's just kind of what they could use right now. Have another guy to go to after Jimmy Butler comes out of the game, because like I mentioned earlier, when Jimmy Butler's not in there, they're not very good. So, yeah, Minnesota, they're doing some things well. It seems Thibodeau realizes that he doesn't have that full of a roster, but he's making it work. And we'll just see if they can keep it up on defense. I do have some fears, but it's been good.